Hello and welcome to Adaptation, the vlog for film adaptations and the original material they're based on. I'm Jessica Dunn, and if you've watched Kendall's video from last week, then you are well aware that we are treating the month of July as an opportunity to pay homage to all of our favorite fandom. Harry Potter. Specifically, we're each taking it in turn to spotlight our favorite elements from the books that for some reason or other were just underrepresented in the movies. So far, we've covered the gross misrepresentation of Ginny Weasley and Neville Longbottom, and for my vlog this week, I'll be trying to convey my mad love for the Marauders, with one notable exception: Wormtail. Before we get into the real meat of this subject, let me just say that the third book, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, is my favorite book in the whole series, whereas the equivalent movie is my least favorite by a long shot. And both of these facts are completely due to the presence or lack thereof of the Marauder storyline. So the first question to ask and answer is, who are the Marauders? This may seem like it has a duh answer, but for those of you who have only watched the movies, you may be coming away with slightly different information than the rest of us. For instance, you may recognize the name from the famed Marauders map, that oh-so-useful mischievous tool given to Harry by Fred and George that shows all of Hogwarts and its inhabitants, whether they're invisible or in animagus form. Brilliant! You may even recognize the names given as the creators of the map: Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. But beyond this, details become somewhat vague. You would know, for instance, from a brief mention in the fifth movie, that Sirius Black is the artist formerly known as Padfoot, and Peter Pettigrew is referred to several times as Wormtail. So you're left to infer the remaining two members from process of elimination: Lupin as Moony, and James, Harry's father, as Prongs to complete the foursome of mapmakers. But this inadequate information is not nearly enough to really convey the depth of the Marauder backstory. So let's try again. Who are the Marauders? We know them by name: James Potter, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew. They were a group of friends and mischief makers at Hogwarts, and they're known by all of the teachers who remember them as the biggest group of pranksters the school had ever seen. Until Fred and George, of course. But beyond this, you'd be hard-pressed to find another group of schoolboys as loyal and self-sacrificing as this. In their school days, at least. There is so much more to these characterizations that just aren't in the films. Like how Peter, James, and Sirius work hard to become anime guy in order to help Remus through his monthly transformations as a werewolf. Not mentioned. How they spent hours exploring Hogwarts and forging bonds of trust and brotherhood through a shared secret. Nilch. How all four of them were in the original Order of the Phoenix during the first war against Voldemort? Nada. How James and Lily put their lives into Sirius's hands, and he convinced them to trust Peter as their secret keeper instead. A mistake which tragically led to their deaths? Implied maybe, but never fully understood. I could go on and on about the details that are left out of the movie depictions of the Marauders, but for the sake of keeping this short, I'll just mention the biggest travesty that results from this lack of representation. The movies simply fail to depict how close-knit this group of friends actually was. This may not seem to be a big issue, and not very central to the plot, but it actually changes so many nuances up to the Marauders' shared story. For instance, when you understand how close these friends were, you can comprehend the depth of Peter's cowardice and betrayal. How the charm that made him the Potter's secret keeper also meant that he chose to betray them. He chose to give them up. There was no imperious curse, no veritaserum involved here. This was just Wormtail being the rat he was. When you understand how close the Marauders were, you can appreciate everything that was lost in the first war against Voldemort. It not only robbed Harry of his parents and his godfather, but it broke down a friendship between longtime best friends, who were previously thought to be as close as brothers. Not only through Peter's betrayal, but the air of unease and mistrust meant that Sirius and Remus doubted each other too. When you understand how close these friends were, you can understand how Sirius could spend 12 years in Azkaban, with a part of him thinking he deserved to be there for the role that he played in making Peter the secret keeper. And the only reason he escaped in Book 3 was not for himself, but was to save Harry from Peter again. When you understand how close they were, you can realize how Lupin, who at Hogwarts finally found friends to accept him for who he was suddenly left as the only remaining Marauder one Halloween night, a lonely outcast once more. And even worse when he regained his friendship with Sirius, only to lose him again 2 years later. Oh gosh, why do I do this to myself? Doesn't it all just make you want to cry? So for a group of pranksters, the storyline of the Marauders has the potential to make you feel all the feels in the books. But the movies just left the storyline high and dry. And yes, we understand the limitations of film. You can't explain everything. But a few more scenes of the Marauders, a better flashback in the 5th movie, I don't even know, just more. And you could have added a little bit of that depth back into the tale. So that's my input for our Harry Potter vlog series. How the complex friendship of the Marauders from the books just became a two-dimensional association in the movies. But maybe you disagree with anything I've said or have anything else to add. Feel free to leave your input in the comments section. If you liked what we had to say, there's more where that came from and much more coming up, especially about Harry Potter. So feel free to subscribe to our weekly vlog and check out our social media sites on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. Thanks for tuning into Adaptation, and until next week, rest in print, Messrs. Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. Mischief managed. Yes, it was a spoon. My Hogwarts letter's still in the mail.